Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Josh, and in today's video we're going to be going over yet another stimulus bill called Patriot Pay by Mitt Romney, which would give each employee considered in an essential industry a raise of $12 per hour. Now first, I'm going to be going over some of the main parts of this bill and how it works, and then after that I'm going to be talking about some of the things that I like about this bill, in addition to some of the things that I don't like so much about this bill. But before I get into the main parts of this bill, let me know in the comment section below whether or not you've received your first stimulus check of $1,200. I know millions of Americans are still waiting on that first check, many of which are in the groups like SSI, SSDI, veterans, and of course many others as well are completely left in the dark. The Get My Payment Portal tool I always recommend people to check out because it's supposed to give you a payment date and the method in which they're going to be sending you the payment, whether that's going to be direct deposit or a check in the mail, and it's supposed to allow you to actually upload your direct deposit information. But for many people, the Get My Payment Portal tool still is not working. But leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know if you received that check. I know it's really sad. The IRS really needs to get their stuff in gear and start getting these out to people much quicker than what they are. They were sending them out on April 15th, and here we are on May 6th, and there's still millions of Americans left in the dark, and lots of people don't even know when they're going to be getting paid. But before I continue on and rant even longer with this, because believe me, I could rant for hours about this, let me go ahead and jump into the main parts of the Patriot Pay bill. Okay, so the first thing you're probably wondering, how would Patriot Pay work? And I'm getting this straight off the website. So first off, this would just be a program that would run from May through July. So it would be just a very short-term 3-month rodeo. For essential employees that make less than $50,000 annualized, employers would receive a 75% refundable payroll tax credit for a bonus up to $12 an hour. For essential employees making over $50,000 annualized, the tax credit phases out by $24 for every additional $500 in income until annualized incomes hit $90,000. Now, the maximum tax credit is $1,440 per month per employee, meaning a full-time worker would receive up to a $1,920 monthly bonus. Okay, so basically what that is saying is that every employee working in what would be considered an essential industry would be given a $12 raise on top of what they're already earning. So an employee that is currently making $12 per hour, for example, that would be bumped up an additional $12 per hour up to $24 per hour. And out of the $12 raise, basically what would happen is that the employer would front that money up front, and then the federal government would be giving the employer $9 of the $12 back in the form of a payroll tax credit. So the government would be covering 75% of this $12 raise, so they'd be pitching in $9 of the $12, and then the employer would be picking up the other $3 of the raise. So I'm going to start this out by talking about some of the things that I like about this bill. And the first thing is that employees are being rewarded for showing up to work. They are essential employees for a reason. They're obviously putting themselves at a higher risk being around the general public. So in my opinion, they deserve to be rewarded for actually showing up to work. There's a lot of their co-workers are actually sitting at home right now, and they're being rewarded actually by being paid more on unemployment than they are actually showing up to work, which is kind of messed up, and that's a whole other issue in itself. So in my opinion, the ones who actually show up to work and aren't just on unemployment shouldn't be getting paid less than those that are sitting at home on their couch watching TV, which, who really could blame them? If you're going to get paid more sitting at home, then you are putting yourselves at risk. Why wouldn't you? So in my opinion, the ones that are putting themselves at risk, that are actually showing up to work, should be rewarded by getting paid more than those sitting at home. So that's just my thought. I think that's the good thing about this. But really, as far as the good things about this bill, that's really where it all stops. And that's because there's a whole lot more things that I dislike about this bill than what I like. And the first thing that I dislike about this bill is that it could actually be hard to determine what would be essential versus what would not be essential. You take the similar industry, for example. It's like people at a hospital. You think, okay, they work in a hospital, obviously they deserve to qualify for Patriot Pay and have that $12 raise. Well, there's going to be certain people like those who check in the patients. Obviously, they're coming in immediate contact with the patients, so obviously they're at a higher risk. In my opinion, I think they should have that raise of $12 per hour or whatever raise is deemed necessary in this case. However, would workers maybe in the back room, maybe those working in accounting or payroll that never actually come in contact with patients, would they be considered an essential employee because they're not coming in contact with patients. They're not putting themselves at as high a risk as those maybe at the front desk checking in patients, actually having that face-to-face contact with patients. And if someone in the back room wasn't receiving the extra $12 per hour, I could see them maybe getting a little bit upset that they're not getting the raise. And on the other hand, if the person in the back room is receiving the $12 raise and the same amount of raise as the person at the front desk who's actually coming in face-to-face contact with patients, I could see the person at the front desk, being a little upset that they're receiving the same amount of raise as the person in the back who isn't putting themselves at any higher of a risk because they're not actually coming in contact with patients. Additionally, another thing that I don't like about this bill is that the economy is really struggling right now. Businesses are barely staying afloat as it is. So if you're going to make an employer pay each additional employee another $3 per hour, that's going to make it even more difficult for them to stay in a business. So, take a restaurant, for example. There's restrictions on how many people can eat in. Right now, I think in some states, I think they can have like 25% capacity. So right now they're pretty much completely reliant on takeout orders, which I know that's probably really driving down their revenue. So you're going to tell these owners, hey, you have to pay each additional employee another $3 per hour. We'll pick up the $9, but you have to pay $3 additional for each employee you have. It really doesn't make as much sense for the employers, and it's going to make it even more difficult for them to stay in business. So all in all, I mean, maybe if the government was going to pitch in the entire $12, I could maybe get on board with that. But if you're going to make an already struggling industry such as restaurants and other industries like that are barely staying afloat as is, and you're going to make them pay even more to their employees, which is going to drive up their costs when they're not actually receiving any more revenue because there's still restrictions on who can eat in. And of course, even when you do fully open up the states and you say, hey, restaurants can now be at 100% capacity, it's not like people are going to immediately run out and start eating out at restaurants. There's going to be some fear there. So with that said, I really don't like the government putting even more pressure on employers to have to pay their employees even more when their businesses are already struggling heavily. Like I said in the beginning, if the government was picking up the full $12 tab and wasn't forcing employers to pitch into that, I could get on board with this idea, but just because of that, I don't think it's a good idea. But with all that said, like I said, I feel like essential employees should be rewarded in some type of way, just not this particular bill. I feel like it could be revised in a better way to make it work better. But of course, I am definitely interested in hearing your opinion, so let me know in the comment section below what you think of this bill. And in addition to that, if there are any other proposed bills out there that you like more, such as the Emergency Money for the People Act, let me know that in the comment section as well. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you would like a free stock valued up to $500, feel free to use that link in the description box below to sign up for Robinhood. And of course, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and until next time, I'll see you guys, and I hope you have a great day today.